Municipality of Oakland-Wawanesa would like to acknowledge and recognize that we are operating on Treaty 1 and Treaty 2 lands, being the original territory of the Anishinaabe and the Dakota Nations and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Be it resolved that the agenda for the March 17th, 2026 special meeting be accepted as presented. Somebody to move that. Councilor Donald, second Councilor Fisher. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council be, Great. Be resolved that the special meeting of council be recessed to allow council to hold a public hearing to receive representations from any person who wish to make them in respect to the 2026 financial plan. Moved by Councilor Hatch, second Councilor Jones. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so
Melissa can do the presentation.
we'll do the presentation first.
Yeah, I get it as well, I'm sure, like green, so just quick. Okay. So the agenda for tonight, the purpose of the public hearing, assessment, tax levies and special service levies, reviewing of the 2026 budget, mill rates and per parcel levies, what you get for your tax dollars, and the next steps. The purpose of a public hearing, to inform the public about the financial situation and plan of the municipality. To assist the public to understand how their tax dollars are being spent, provides an opportunity for public participation and input, provides an understanding of the relationship between services and taxes and the difficult decisions that must be made by council to determine a balance between the two. Public hearing provides a general overview of the 2026 financial situations and plan. Assessment. Assessed values of all properties are determined by the provincial assessment branch. We pay approximately $40,000 annually for the service. A property's assessment is the assessor's best estimate of the most probable selling price for a property based on April 1st, 2023 market values. Total municipal portion assessment, all properties for 2026 is
Here's somebody.
$204,059,250. Changes in total portion assessment for 2025 to 2026 is an increase of $2,788,000 or 1.385% attributed to reassessment and new developments. So this is just a graph of the assessment percentages by property class. So here you have farm, which is 49.81%. Residential owned condo co-op housing, which is 0.059%. Residential 30.509%. Institutional 1.34%. Pipelines 14.069%. Railway 0.126%, and the other is 4.075%. So now the next slide is the portioned assessment percentages, which is what you, the taxes are based off of. So as you can see here, the farm is 34.727%. Residential owned condo co-op housing is 0.072%. Residential is 36.811%. Institutional is 2.34%. Pipeline is 18.861%. Railway is 0.085% and other is 7.101%. So the 2026 overall budget, the 2026 total municipal budget is $3,546,193.18, which includes a number of capital projects that are funded from reserve. The amount to be raised by taxes is $2,409,917.94. This is an increase of $67,204.63% or 63 cents, or 2.87%. Okay, and the different categories of the budget. General government services. This category includes legislative, general, admin, made up of staff, office, legal, audit, assessment and taxation, and other general government, comprised of elections, conventions, insurance, intergovernmental relations, and grants. The budget for this category is $654,540.17. That is an increase of $18,545.95. Most of the increase is related to due to an election year this year and insurance. Protective services. This includes police, fire, emergency measures, and other protection. The budget for this category is $188,584.34. This is an increase of $35,926.60. Most of this increase is in building and plumbing inspections as estimated for outsourcing the building and plumbing permits. Transportation services, it includes roads and streets, staff, equipment repairs and maintenance, equipment insurance, shop and yard operation and asset management. And road construction and maintenance, so gravel crushing, trucking, road maintenance and reconstruction, sidewalks, ditches, bridges, etc. The budget for this category is $995,840.31. And this is a decrease of $19,995.67. And the decrease is mostly related to this, to culvert stock that we already have. Environmental health services. This includes garbage and waste collection, garbage collection and nuisance grounds, and other environmental health, which is recycling. Budget for this is $157,579.16. This is an increase of $9,993.79. And the increase is mostly related to municipal waste management increasing their costs this year. Public health and welfare. This is for public health, which includes cemeteries, handy transit, and senior independent services. Budget for this is $28,600, and there is no change in this line item. Environmental development services. This includes planning and zoning, community development. The budget is $121,500, and it is an increase of $115,500. So this increase is due to a development plan needing done and proposed demolitions of buildings. Economic development services. This includes destruction of pests, weed control, veterinary services, water resources and conservation, tourism, and staff appreciation. Budget for this is $37,306. This is an increase of $5,026 and is directly related to weed control. Recreation and cultural services. This includes community centers and halls, pools, rinks and arenas, parks and playgrounds, grants, and museums. The budget is $118,780.14. This is an increase of $2,210.14 as approved by the Special Services Levy. Financial services. This includes transfers to capital and utility. The budget is $640,304.35. This is an increase of $176,348.01. This includes transfers to capital for our Manitoba Water Services Board funding projects in the amount of $500,000.
Can you explain that just a little bit?
Let's go back. Oh, is that right? Oh, is that right? No. Wait, no. Where is it? There? That one?
Yeah, the 500,000 was coming from where?
It's a grant coming from Manitoba Water Services Board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a grant, so it doesn't have to be paid back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Revenues. This includes other revenues, so taxes added, penalties, licenses, permits, sale of service, sale of goods, trailer park rentals, grazing leases, and returns from investments, municipal operating grants, the provincial operating grant and gas tax, and transfer from reserves. The budget is $1,101,275.24. And this is an increase of $200,291.35 and is the result of the grant from Manitoba Water Services Board. The capital budget. This includes capital projects or purchases planned for 2026, such as purchase of equipment and road projects. The budget is $3,166,200, which is funded by reserves, borrowing, and the Manitoba Water Services Board grant. Note, the capital budget includes the utility debenture of $1.62 million and the proposed shop debenture of $900,000. Utility budget. The utility budget is wholly funded by the utility. The budget is $847,468.01. And this is an increase of $349,564.01, which includes funding from the Water Services Board towards the debenture project. Okay, what you get for your tax dollars, you get road maintenance and improvement, snow removal, spring culvert, opening drainage, veterinarian services, grass cutting in the ditches, weed control, waste transfer stations, recycling, street lighting, fire protection services, EMO flood services, emergency coordinator, 911 emergency services, planning and zoning, signage, consultants / legal, animal control, bylaw enforcement, insurance / liability coverage, community hall, center and rinks, soccer field / baseball fields, handy van services, pool and campground, library services, school bursaries and hospital grants, children and adult programs, and general grants. So mill rates. So the mill rates for 2026 are as follows with the 2025 comparison in brackets. So the mill rate for 2026 is 10.069. That would be the general mill rate, and last year was 9.894. The 0.265 is the mill rate for the recreation against the class 30 agricultural lands. It was 0.260 in 2025. 0.426 is the mill rate for recreation against all other classes of property, and 0.419 is what it was in 2025. 1.202 is the mill rate against Wawanesa properties for the lagoon. Last year it was 1.221. 1.007 is the mill rate against Wawanesa properties for the ice plant. In 2025, it was 1.024. So the per parcel charges, same thing, 2026 per parcel charges are as follows with the 2025 comparisons in brackets. $50 per parcel for recreation for Wawanesa properties that are residential with no dwelling units. It is the same in 2025. $135 per parcel for recreation for all other Wawanesa properties, which is also the same as 2025. $50 per parcel for waste / recycling for all residential properties with no dwelling units, which is also the same in 2025. $14.65 per parcel for waste recycling for class 30 agricultural lands. It was $14.35 in 2025. And $103.98 excuse me, per parcel for waste recycling for all other class properties is $101.84 in 2025. The next steps conclude the public hearing, adopt the financial plan, and give first reading to the tax levy bylaw. Minor amendment on page 8 related to grant in lieu and grazing lease prior to second and third reading of the bylaw is the tax levy bylaw. Get the information uploaded to the province for printing of the tax bills. Mail the tax bills with payment due by October 31st, 2026. And then you have just the payment options we have, online payments, e-transfers, post-dated checks, and cash.
Okay, thank you. So I voted this as a public hearing, so now we'll leave it to the audience. If those that wish to have a presentation or some questions, so please feel free to stand up. Please advise your name and land location or address accordingly.
Spacing. So they it's just
I had a question about, but I think you answered it on the 500,000. Is part of your thing on the other pages showed as general revenues, which maybe would indicate that you're talking about the taxes.
Oh, yes, maybe it shows under other revenue under, additional grants, I think.
Well, one was started at line 380. And then it said go to page 6 at 430. This was followed on the line of
Yeah.
500,000. And then, WTP upgrade, water lines, renewable and study, so that on is kind of telling you that's Wawanesa where most of the water lines will be. And then to, borne by general funds. So that's kind of telling me that's not a grant anymore, that's, coming out of the budget, is that right?
When you're looking at the capital budget, and note that 500 under the board by general funds is the grant money. Because the grant comes in and it goes into the general account, so that's why it shows as the board by general fund.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't really spell that.
Oh, yeah.
anywhere.
So yeah, that is the grant.
Yeah, I was following the money there to see, because if it was coming out of general, then it sounds like the rural might be paying for a water line in town. And if he's rurally based for his own.
Because every, correct me if I'm wrong, every time we get a grant, we have to consider it, or the auditor wants us to consider it as a revenue, correct, when it comes in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it goes
And it
into
shows a
general
different
and then,
spot,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
There was one other thing that kept coming up, I think it was something 20 agricultural land or 30 or something.
That's class 30.
Yeah, class 30. What
Class
does that
30,
mean?
that's just farm land, period. That's a company, class 30,
Okay, with no resident on it.
no resident on it.
Okay, yeah. So now if you have a, like me with a small holding on a piece of property, where do I fall?
Well, you're, if it's called ag land, within the definition, it'll come under the second, for, under 30. But if you have a home in it, the home parcel would just be a house, and then the other part would be under class 30.
Even if it's only small acreage?
Well, an acreage would probably not end up in ag, but it's in an ag zone, so if you do any agriculture on it, then it would be, but if it's not, then it's just an acreage. And it's,
Not a good word.
That's cool, right?
yes,
Glenn Kirby, down Tower Road. I just have a question about council's wisdom, and it would appear to me, just on a quick oversight, that the only, I guess the only category that you actually reduced budget in would be transportation services, which includes obviously maintenance of rural and urban roads. Does council think that's wise?
what was that attributed to?
Because we have so much in culvert stock, the
Yeah.
culvert line went down.
So we have a number of culverts that were purchased, so we don't have to buy them this year, so we just didn't, that's the only line we basically changed. All the rest we have there.
Okay, I guess maybe that's my question. Does council believe that rural residents are happy with the maintenance of rural roads at this point, and there should not be an increase in services?
We do road work every year, so I mean, that we do, as far as planning goes, we have a lot of planning which is gonna be done by gas tax. Don't have to worry about getting it from the revenue source of taxation. So we do that and it's throughout the budget, so we do it by that as well as some, the tax base road work as well, so it's covered off. The councilors reviewed the whole prospect of road maintenance and repair and reconstruction, and we're satisfied with the budget.
Do you have some areas that, like, I'm gonna call it reconstruction or a capital project versus just a general maintenance of grading? And is there a number split out there that we would know how much was budgeted?
What was our gas tax in the rule we spent last year? Do you have that in front of you?
Well, we had special projects. We do them every year now, and what we've been trying to do is to do as much as we can, again, without having to increase taxation too much. And so we started basically 2 years ago now. 2 years. That we've done it intense reconstruction. We widened Tower Road. We did a lot of stuff as far as doing the calcium, et cetera, and shale. So we've been doing some special projects on different roads and trying to get them, especially along right with number 10 highway. Because that is a concern for a lot of residents. So we've been trying to do more and more there, but we got 250 miles of gravel road. So it's difficult to say we're gonna do it all in 1 year without getting into severe costs.
No, I think the question is more is, what is that budget you're doing to capital projects versus regular maintenance?
We can find that on the budget.
Yeah, it's in the budget.
It's 200,000 what is what we're doing this year.
For gas tax and then the regular just road maintenance. You'd have to pull up our,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're taking 200,000 out of gas tax this year, strictly for road work with reconstruction, et cetera.
Yeah.
Now, what we have to do with gas tax is if we take it out of gas tax, we have to do it by a private contractor. We can't do it as maintenance. It has to be a reconstruction project that has to be done by a private contractor. So that's a separate element. So that'll be the 200,000. And then we'll have the rest of it as far as just general maintenance, which includes staffing, equipment, all that kind of thing. So what do you have there?
One thing, Mike, I've been proposing is everybody gets in a bus and we gotta go drive every road and we're together. Because a lot of people, and I'm not saying you or whatever, but see very few miles of other roads besides what you drive on regularly. Yeah, and I really think there's a lot being missed there, because I really think Methven Road's getting pounded to hell by gravel trucks and everything else, and there is gonna be some reconstruction there. But I just think all of us have to be together and write on your little notepads what we want to see improved. And we got priority roads that we're looking at, and that there's some that have to be done. And it was like the Tower Road or whatever, or Green Acres Road, or Trees Bank Road, or what was up by, Hayfield Road. Yeah, like, we know there is, but we can't do the recrowning or whatever on every road. Like, it is a process, so.
And I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that, but I guess I understand completely. I did in asset management for a long time. So everything can't be done at once, but a few years ago when I at a meeting, I asked about, what the plan was for the biggest investment you have in roads, and I think at that time you said you didn't have one, you were working at it, and it sounds like you got a couple of years now. So now what? You've got a budget, so have you now said, okay, I'm just gonna throw some numbers out, road 108 at between mile 42 and 48 is really bad. That's what we're gonna repair this year. Like, what areas have you got earmarked that you're gonna be?
We've identified what we're gonna do some on this year.
Trees Bank's getting attention, 2 miles, west of 340 and 1 mile east. We're doing some more recrowning, what else do we have on the list? Methven's getting spot repairs done on it.
How about you, Joni, you wanted to explain the program we did?
I could. So the municipality is involved now with the CGIS program where we've had
I'm only asking, I'm not saying, I'm not complaining.
no,
But this is important.
You'll like
We're in a
this.
bad spot so that people can say, you know what? It's on the book to repair this year, or you know what, that's next year, but.
So we did a
We know where
review,
we're at.
yeah, we did a review with council this year to let them see what the CGIS program showed, and that was doing all of the level 1 roads. So those are your main travel roads. And it was taking a look at what roads had been determined to be fair, good, very good. And then the direction from council was, where do we start? do we try to get all of the poor roads up to fair? Do you try to get the fair roads up to good? And a lot of it has to do with what it was that made the classification fair or poor. Some of it is crowning or whatever. So for instance, gravel crushing this year, there's $163,900 in the budget for gravel crushing. That's not going to crown every road. It's not going to make every level one road 24 feet wide, which would be your standard. Some of the roads are classed as poor or fair because of visibility. And again, with our road systems, you're not going to be able to change those. So council was looking at which of the roads were rated and making a list of which priority roads they wanted to start working on. So they've got a list of about the top 10 roads that they think they can make headway on under our general maintenance, not under the gas tax special projects, but stuff that we can do internally. So when you were asking what budgets we've got, road maintenance, we've got $20,000 that would be for labor that would have to be outside of our own staffing. If we needed to call in somebody with equipment that we don't have. The gravel crushing is just about 164,000. Gravel trucking is 94,500. And the truck rental itself is about 35,000. So that's in comparison to what staff can do that would be separate from the 200,000 that would be gas tax.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear this, Chris. Plan in place, anyway, we're making headway on it.
This is all
Probably
part of,
don't die of old age before we get everything fixed.
this all,
Oh, yeah.
this is all part of our asset management that we've been trying to put together for a lot of years and kind of put up with a plan. And this came about over the last couple of years too, to bring it in. So we had this individual go and inspect every one of our roads and break it down so that we could put it onto a grid and say, okay, this is where we're looking at, and these are the ones that are passing, good, bad, or other. So we're trying to follow that now, so the counselors all have an idea of what they're looking at. So.
Box 718. I'm just curious, how much of the increase in gravel are we putting on each year? Are we still running to maintain our roads? Are we increasing our gravel?
How much
Budget?
we're crushing or how much we're budgeting for?
Yeah, have we increased it, or are we just still staying at our steady number?
I think it's pretty steady, but I'd have to look back and see exactly.
Been doing it, right?
When we have to recrown the road too, that road gets basically double the gravel. When we recrown a road, the gravel gets doubled up on that road.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if we had 20,000 yards 2 years ago or 3 years ago, are we up to 25,000 yards to keep up with?
Yeah, I think, sure we are. One of the elements with crushed gravel is that we found that we had the wrong amount of clay, et cetera, in it. In fact, at one point we had silt rather than clay, which caused a lot of problems with the roads rather than helping them. That goes back a few years now. So we've tried to correct that over these last 2 years too, so that we have proper amount of clay in there to make the roads better.
I can go back previous years and find out what our gravel crushing
Yeah.
budget was, if that's what you would like to know.
If you, yeah, you can see a trend or whatever. It's,
Budgeted next year's last year.
I think we've been trying to increase it, but I don't know that we've been at a high level of increasing. I don't know.
The actual was.
Actual last year was 119,000. And then we budgeted this year 163.
Yeah, so we increased by 50,000.
And that's also due to the price increase.
Is it price increases? Yeah.
The year before was 128.
I'm not contesting anything, but I just feel that more gravel we put on, the less repairs we have to keep catching up with.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's part of what the council wanted to try to get used to is this repair concept. It's costly. So if we can get our roads up to where they should be, on a year-to-year basis, it'll make it better overall, so.
You won't know, one of the worst things for gravel roads is ABS brakes. everybody goes, as they come up to a stop sign. And the brakes hit,
Well, they,
hit, and that's what makes all the washboard.
I know.
Yeah.
Neil, to give you an example, in 2022, the gravel crushing budget was 90,000. This year it's
I'm not worried about
163.
price, I'm worried about the yards that we use.
Well,
We're talking money.
yeah, but gravel hasn't doubled in cost, whereas our budget has doubled. So we are obviously
Well,
putting
everything
on.
else seems to have doubled.
well, there are increases for sure.
But the intent was to crush the additional gravel as well, because we can make use of it.
We can stockpile them too.
Well, the full crushing costs will double next year. From what we paid previously.
So we've stockpiled for the past 2 years because of the knowing that the increase is coming.
Yes,
I don't expect a good answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. And I've been coming to budget meetings for a lot of years, maybe every one of the last 10, but I just have an observation, which is a question. Why can't council just keep its costs within inflation? Every year you deliver a budget, and I know you work hard at it. I know everybody works hard. I'm not faulting you for that, but we continually spend above, say, the cost of inflation. We continually add more onto taxpayers because we can't seem to control our spending for what we want to do. And we elect to make tough decisions. We elect you to bring in budgets that are hopefully going to be budgets we can live with. So long way of saying, why can't we simply just have basic cost of living increases in our budget year here? We seem to always overspend past that. And as a taxpayer, I find it unfair, and I'm just going on the record with that now. That's all I want to say.
yeah, and I think council appreciates that kind of, topic to talk on. It's a matter that if you don't spend, pretty soon you're like the Brandon situation where you've let your asset just say stabilize and you're not spending the money on it. And pretty soon all you're doing is kicking the can down the road where you're gonna have a gigantic increase. We're trying to keep the mill rate kind of flat. So if you take a look last year, we were 9 something. The year before we were 10.0 or whatever that may be. It's right around the 10 mark. So we're kind of keeping that as flat as possible. So it's not a huge tax increase. If you start saying, okay, well, we'll cut this and we'll cut that, well, we'll take the mill rate down to 8, but then next year it's gonna go to 12 because we haven't got enough money or we haven't done what we're supposed to do. We don't want to get into that kind of scenario. So we've been keeping it pretty flat. And I credit council for doing that over the years. Now, we have spent a little more the last couple of years. And you saw expenditures go up intentionally to get some of the rural roads done better. We've done some really poor maintenance of roads for a lot of years. We've recognized that. And in order to get a handle on it, now we're gonna have to spend a little more to get it done. It is good. Well, I think it's good going forward. What we did before, maybe not as good, but you live through that and make those mistakes and hopefully get better.
I appreciate that. I would also suggest too that we kicked ahead the rink renovation for a whole lot of years until it became a $1 million solution. So again, thank you for the roads. I'm not really happy about the whole rink thing. But anyway,
yeah.
We can disagree on things, but
Sure.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
I periodically read things where money's coming from reserves.
Yeah.
Now, where's the money going into that? Is that, money that's been, maybe, you didn't spend all your budget last year, went into a reserve fund? Or where does the money come
Yeah.
from that goes in there?
So reserve wise, what we do is every year we allot so much, we have a 10-year capital plan. So that will replace the grader this year, 2026, we have one replaced. The next one's going to get replaced for 2 more years, correct? So we make sure we have enough money from general revenue, which is going to come from taxation. So we put that money away so we can spend it on the track and the grader in 2 years' time. We're going to have enough money in there. Same with the fire truck, same with the equipment as far as the tractor goes and loading, et cetera, et cetera. So we keep that 10-year capital plan so that it's equal to what we need to spend. So that comes from general revenue. There's the general reserve, we'll put some money in there for just in case mistakes or flooding comes in the spring or whatever the case may be. It's just a kind of a piggy bank sort of thing so we can do some things with it if need be. So we do that out of general revenue. As far as surplus, we have that, but we don't know what the surplus is gonna go until what it could be or is until after the audit is done of that year. So we're waiting over a year to find out whether you have a surplus in it in that year, that given year. So we don't do that. So council has been pretty close to budget every year, so we don't have a real surplus as such. Now, we're not going backwards. We are going forwards on that. So there is some surplus, but it's not huge. We are in a good financial position as a municipality. We're great as far as the auditors are concerned. So we're pretty happy, and I think that's been a pat in the back for the council. Yes.
Sorry, I was at the public meeting for the new shop proposal. Can you walk us through council's plan for that now? Because I'm not aware of it in this document.
Okay, so it's in there as 900,000 again. It has to be in there for the sake of liability. It doesn't show revenue or et cetera, et cetera. So what happened is that the previous meeting, we had a public hearing. That's basically going to get a pre-approved mortgage. When you're buying a house, you go and you say to the banker, okay, we don't know what we're gonna buy, we don't know what we're gonna build. What's our cap on it? You know, what's gonna be our interest rates? That's what we did with that. That's what was 900,000 everything. We didn't have all the documents because the board doesn't need that kind of information. The municipal relations doesn't need that kind of information. They just want to know what you're gonna do. Now, as of this meeting, our council meeting this morning, we put forward to get put a tender out for a shop that's gonna be 100 by 60. It's all on the minutes from today. And we're gonna put that out. Now, we can't approve it because there's gonna be a municipal board hearing on May the 1st over the shop because of the people that were at the meeting at the public hearing. Voiced their concerns, so the board's gonna have a meeting on May 1st here in Wawanesa Hall, which is their call. And so at that point, we'll decide whether we're going forward with it or not going forward with it, or whatever the case may be. If the board doesn't approve it, we can't go forward with it. So we're waiting for the board to come up with their decision on that. See, we will have, the plans and everything else, and I don't know if we'll have it for that meeting, but it'll be close to that meeting. So that if they want to know exactly what it's gonna be. We presume it's gonna be closer to 700,000, but we don't know. And even at 700,000, we do have a building reserve you referred to, which is gonna be, that is a building reserve right now. I think it's around 275,000. So that'll go against, for building the building. So if it's 700,000, that will reduce that down to about 500,000. But the actual cost will then go up to the venture. So that'll all come into that board meeting. And we'll have that information at that time.
And trust us, it's gonna be in Nesbit. It's going to be in Nesbit.
Yeah.
At the last meeting in Carrollville, you've really been pushing for 100 by 80-foot building, and you just said 100 by 60.
Yes.
So you guys have changed your.
Yeah, what we found is that we found another municipality that has built that exact same shop at 100 by 60. Beautiful shop, great setup, exactly like we would like to have, fit our machinery and everything else. And it's a cheaper build because of 60-foot rafters. So we're looking at that.
This number that was presented last time doesn't exist?
The 900,000?
Yeah.
Well, that's the maximum we can go, because that's all we put forward at the public hearing.
Yeah.
So we can't go over that, but we don't intend to go over that. We never did intend to go over that, but we wanted to have the baseline set. We want to have the interest rate set so that we could have that knowledge for the people when they come to the meeting.
So we should, I'm not arguing about this, but should we put our graders in, our trucks in, our tractors in? That when there's a snowstorm, everything's heated, ready to go out the door. The only thing that takes longer is opening the door.
Yes. Don't think it has to be automatic, but yes, and that's the idea. We got over $2 million worth of equipment. It's time to protect it a little better than what we've been doing.
Well, that's why I totally supported the shop, because we have expensive equipment and maintenance and taking care of it. You need to with the electronic stuff that's out there now, you just gotta have it.
Well, there's many features to it, but go ahead. Mr. Smith, or-
Oh, I'm just happy that you guys figured out that process and all the costs and everything. Because I was pushing for a smaller shop at the Carroll meeting. And, I seem to get a lot of argument against that.
Yeah, I think when we first looked at it, I'm gonna go back, was that 2022?
2022, and I believe the shop size at that point was proposed to be 80 by 70.
Yeah,
So 5,600, but we found that the 80-foot rafters are
Yeah,
more
the rafters.
expensive.
I'm a contractor, I know the Raptors.
Okay, so,
Stoop the price after.
Yeah.
yeah, so we looked at a lot of things, and that's what council has to do, but we have to start somewhere. And we've been, again, kicking that can down the road about this shop for now going on 6 years. And we could have built it for a lot cheaper than back 6 years ago, but we also didn't have the money in the reserve account. Did you find that?
Yeah, just 200, just under 200,000,
Just under 200?
like 195.
Okay,
and then 50,000
No, that's
proposed.
with.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's with,
Good.
This year's.
okay. Any further?
No, the shop, it was in work yet. You know, I was for the shop, but it wasn't for that size that you
Right.
initially said there, and I'm
Right.
glad that you've, you know, done some kind of feasibility study to, here's what we need. Here's a forecast of what we need in the next 10 years, and then present that to us as, you know, as the size and how you're gonna
Right.
build it and, you know, and how you're gonna operate it in a, you know, I'm certainly in favor of spending a little more money on having it well insulated so that your operational costs over 5 years or 10 years is paid for it instead of being
Right.
the cheapest thing possible and then, paying utility bills and whatever forever to,
Yeah, we can do that.
keep the door open.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it was interesting because until we had a look at this shop, which is brand new for this municipality, few of us went to take a look at it to see. That's when you have a visual understanding of what we should need, what they did it, why they did it the way they did. Insulated, like heated flooring and all that kind of stuff, for heating weather and so on. So there's a lot to be said by being able to visualize and put it into perspective. So I think we got it down right now, but we can't say yes until we get the board approval. So if we get board approval.
So are you gonna have a public meeting on design and all that before you kind of just go ahead with it? Or are you going to just,
Well, the board has to approve it first before we can do anything. And at that point, we won't have another public hearing. We won't require one. But it'll come out in our meetings as to what it'll be.
What will the municipal board consider when it's weighing whether or not they should approve what you want them to do?
I can't speak for the board, but they're a quasi judicial board, so they have a lot of authority. I'm thinking that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, well, they'll be looking at the way we tax it rather than whether we can have it or not. I think that's where the board will look at it. So they'll be saying, like we had put forward, we're gonna do it on a per parcel basis. If they say, you know, everybody contested that, said they don't want it on taxes like that, they could say to us, well, look, we're approving that, or no, we won't approve that, but we'll approve it, you put it on the basis of, set value, which is, on the basis of the mill rate, which to us is the wrong way, I think, because then you get into that difference between rural and urban, where the rural will pay more. And we're trying to do this so that, you know, every homeowner will pay something for the shop in the whole municipality. So we think that's a fair way. That's what we put in for. If the board decides we can't have that and they want to do it the other way, we'll have to listen to it.
So is it like a vote, like majority?
No, this is the board. They have a 3-member panel that'll come and they'll listen to the arguments and people are with the discussions and presentations. And they'll go back, they'll take their notes, et cetera. We'll be able to do a presentation, which we will put on as a per parcel basis, because we feel that's, council feels it's fair. And we'll put that forward, and if they hear from the audience that it should be different, or whatever the case may be, they'll make that decision. And hopefully within 30 days of that hearing, and tell us.
So will the board look at that old The old building?
No, they don't want nothing to do with that.
I can tell you what the act says the board has authority for. So their duties include considering the nature of the work, the undertaking, or the object proposed, the necessity or expediency thereof, the financial position of the local authority, and any other matter. And when they are looking at financial position, they are wanting, they consider your total debt limit, and they want the municipality's total debt capped at 7% of its municipal assessment. And the debt servicing limits are not to exceed 20% of the municipality's annual revenue. So that is kind of where their guidelines are for whether or not we're in a financial situation to take on that debt.
And we are where?
Total debt, we are at 1.187%, so that's within the 7% that they would allow. And the debt servicing, so with the water debenture debt at 1.487 million, which the final cost will actually only be 900,000, because that's what the grant was for Water Services Board. So that will actually be reduced, and even if we had to borrow the full 900,000, which we will not, we would be, I don't have the percentage increase. I didn't get that far to figure it out. When you and I had looked, we were at 12%, and that was at the highest number. Is that?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, we went with full.
So we're
With six.
within the ranges. So that, we don't see that as being what they'll be dealing with. But we don't, that's a board decision, and we'll have to wait and get what they say.
Yeah, and we just had a board meeting with the property matter that we were all in favor for of transferring ag land to another ag land. And the province denied us.
So in my eyes, I'm laughing. We got a good idea. We got a shop coming,
Well,
in my eyes.
I'm hopeful, but, and I think council's hopeful, because I think we need it in Nesbit, but, we have to wait and see.
The other thing, like, you got a lot of resistance from the media and the Carroll, but you guys really didn't have an idea what you're doing. I think if you had another meeting now saying that it's gonna be 100 by 60 and giving people a better idea of what you're doing, you wouldn't have so much resistance.
Yeah, and that may be so. It's a matter that, once the board hears it, that's the decision that we'll get. That'll be fine. That they wouldn't review it again.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you had a meeting before that, I think you'd find that a lot more people are supportive of it. Because nobody that I talked to was against the shop. They were against what you guys were putting forth as a shop.
Yeah, and we're still at that point, because we're still,
Well, everybody wants a part of it, yes.
But
Yeah.
even the levy wasn't that big a deal. It was what you guys were telling us you were gonna build. And most people didn't like what you guys had planned.
Basically, you're saying they thought we were a little too elaborate.
Yeah, you guys, well, like I said, even the 180 by 100 shop was ludicrous.
And I thought it was elaborate as well. So, but now I think we're together.
Well, like I said, I don't think anybody was against the shop. They were against what you guys were putting forth. So if you had a meeting now saying, okay, now we've come down to reality and this is what we're gonna do, I think you'd actually get the money or get through the municipal board. Because most people weren't against the shop per se.
well, I'm not sure though, because I thought a lot of the information that came in was the signed documents were against the special levy.
Yes.
And that was taxation. So I think that's what they're looking at, is the taxation side of that. That's why they,
One way or another, that's.
yeah, understand.
The municipal board hearing on
May 1st.
how is that being advertised to the municipality?
That's up to the board to do that. The board has, and everybody that sent the letter in will get a reply back from them saying when the May 1st meeting is, et cetera. And about the presentation if they wish to make it. Is that not correct?
I believe that is the case, and I think they also do an advertising in the Brandon Sun so that anybody else, they say that the meeting is open to the public. Now, I don't know when they say that, whether they mean anybody can come forward and speak to them, or whether they will limit their presentations to those who made objections to the board. That's their call to make, but there should be something in the Brandon Sun, and there should be documentation that goes out to anybody who did object. And when we have final notice from them, we'll put it on our website as well. But again, it's not our public hearing, it's theirs.
All right, thank you. Okay, whereas all representatives in regard to the 2026 financial plan have been dealt with, therefore be it resolved that the public hearing be concluded and council resume its normal order of business. Moved by Councillor Jones, second Councillor Gullett, all in favor? Be it resolved that the 2026 financial plan as set out in the form approved by the Minister of Municipal and Northern Affairs be adopted. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second Councillor Jones, all in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 52-2026 being the 2026 tax levy bylaw be read a first time. Moved by Councillor Hatch, second Councillor Gullett. There's no discussion on our first reading. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that this meeting does now adjourn at 7:20.
7:22 is what mine shows.
Moved by Councillor Fisher, seconder Councillor Jones, all in favor?